Do you want to know more about installing sound decoders in your in-scale locomotives? Why don't you stick around and watch this segment, see how we do it on my in-scale model railroad, this air secondary. Hello everyone, Joe from Central Jersey Conrail and in-scale. Welcome back to the Locomotive Shop. So this time on the Locomotive Shop, we're going to be working with a GP38-2. So the GP38-2 was an Electromotive Division product. It was manufactured from 1972 to 1986. There was over 2,213 units produced. It featured the 645E prime mover, which was a 16-cylinder diesel, which generated 2,000 horsepower. Now the -2 indicates in the EMD product line that it had an upgraded to microprocessors for traction control and all its electronic controls. Now, Conrail inherited 223 units after Conrail Day 1, but quickly they realized that they had a huge locomotive shortage, so they ordered 119. So that bring them to 342 locomotives that they had were GP38-2s. So that they had a very large class of locomotives in this series. So the model we're using is an Atlas GP38-2. The cab number on it is 8072. Now, when I got this out of the box, I thought it was a mispaint because it had the Conrail quality logo on it, and then it had 807 and then a space with the 2. So before I started stripping into this locomotive, I did a lot of research on it. So the reason that it was 807 space 2 was because what's not shown on the model when you get into doing your prototype research is that Conrail installed cab vents on the GP38-2s. Consequently, some positions, there was not a standardized position for Conrail shops to install the cab vents. So sometimes where the cab vents were installed would interfere with the spacing of the numbers. That's why Atlas painted it with 8072. So then what I realized is that as I was doing my research, when they repainted it to Conrail quality, the space went away. I don't know if they changed the font size on the numbers or if they moved the cab vent, because it's very difficult to see in the picture that I saw. So consequently, I didn't want the Conrail quality logo anyway. So when you look at the original can opener logo, that's when you see that defining space with the cab vent. So kudos to Atlas for doing that, because they're trying to indicate that there was something going on there. However, there was two issues I had with the way they did it. Number one, they should have put some kind of little bump or blister in the cab to indicate that that was the cab vent. The second thing that they didn't do was they didn't do their research, because the cab vents by Conrail were only put on the engineer side of the locomotive. They put the space on the numbers on both sides, engineers and fireman side. That wasn't the case. I couldn't find any indication of the pictures I saw from the fireman side that there was a space. They were normally spaced. So, you know, that's kind of where they made their error. So as I got into doing this build, I really keyed in on that, and then it bothered me because I had this space in between the numbers. I'm like, I wish I could represent the cab event. So I did. I just took a piece of scrap plastic, trimmed it to fit, glued it on there, voila. It's not picture perfect, it's not going to win any prizes, but it looks really good. It makes sense now when you see, oh, that's why there's a space in there, because you see the little blump. So now that I've kind of give you a little glimpse into what's going to happen, why don't you sit back and watch the video and we'll talk more about it afterwards. Okay, so here we are getting started. That's our ESU 73100 decoder, and here is our model. And here you can see the space in the numbers. So I disassembled the shell and then I put it into alcohol to strip the paint and decals off. Okay, so So after stripping the paint and decals, I go over and I wash the shell with some warm water and soap and dry it off overnight, and then bring it into the paint booth, and we're going to go ahead and prime it. I'm using Model Flex Primer Gray, and I loaded that into my airbrush. So normally when I do the locomotives, I don't generally like to mess around with the handrail and walkway assemblies, but because they had the safety stripe on it from the quality logo, I needed to get that off to match the original can opener logo. So I didn't do a complete strip on this part here. I kind of just did it on the sides to get rid of the stripe, and this way it just cut down on the amount of painting I had to do. Now I'm just going in and hitting the side sills with Primer Gray, and then I'll come back with Conrail Blue. Okay, so I let the primer dry overnight, and then we're back in the spray booth the next day with Model Flex Conrail Blue, and we're going to go ahead and airbrush the shell and the handrail and walkway assemblies. Okay, so here I am coming in with the Conrail Blue. I'm not just hitting the side cells, I'm also hitting the handrails so that everything's blended together with the same color. Okay, so we're going to get started with our decals. I'm using Microscale's Conrail Diesels set. Big key here when you're doing the decals is do yourself a favor and go ahead and change out your hobby blade so you have a nice sharp hobby knife. That helps cut in your decals so they're nice and crisp. And a nice clean thing of water, a wet paper towel, some clean brushes, and I like using the micro saw and micro set to put my decals on the model. Okay, so once I get the decal in position that I want it, I come in with the micro saw and I brush it over the decal. And what that does, it softens up the decal and makes it stick down to the model, and helps it to suck into all the little crevices and bumps on the shell. Okay, so on this one here, we're not going to go into it too much because I want to concentrate more on the paint and the weathering. So I'm installing the ESU board here and the speaker, get that all in position, and once it's all done, I'll tighten it all up with Capcom tape to make sure it's all nice and neat, and we'll be ready for programming. with our last locomotive we did together, I'm using the Tamiya panel line paint. Really like the effect. I'm using it also on around all the doors and features to kind of give the shell a little more depth, and works really good with the grates and the grills too. Okay, so here's my new airbrush. It's the Iwata HPC. I've gone ahead and loaded up Modiflex sand in there. I'm going to go ahead and lay down my base coat for my weathering. Once I'm done with the sand, I'll let that dry and get my airbrush all cleaned out and mix up another batch of paint. And that batch is going to be grimy black and rail brown. It's mostly rail brown with like about 3 or 4 drops of grimy black, and that produces a nice color. So that second darker color I'm going to use on all the sills and the roof lines to, just give it more variation. And I'm using this in place of what I would have done with weathering powders. Then I'm also going to use that same color, and I'm going to do the trucks and the tanks. Weathering with the airbrush came out really good. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and come in with some pastels. Using the black soot to kind of just blend everything together and kind of highlight some areas. As for the roof line where the exhaust was, I didn't use airbrushing, so I just used the weathering powders. Here is the finished product. The only thing I'm just noticing now in editing is that the windshield got lost. So I'm going to have to fix that. Okay, so here we are. We're going to go over and get started programming the decoder. So we're using the Loc programmer. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and update the firmware for the decoder because there's an update. Once that's done, I'm going to go ahead and open my Google, and I bookmarked ESU's website, and I go right to this page here. And I'll go ahead and search for GP38-2, and it's going to bring up all the appropriate sound files that would be matching the GP38-2. Because I've used GP38-2 before, I'm looking for version 3, and that's the one here. I'm going to click download and select direct micro. Then I'll accept the license, and it'll automatically download. Now, just wait for the download to complete. You don't have to do anything, and it's going to automatically launch into your Loc programmer into a new project. Now, once the project launches, I'm going to come in here, I'm going to use the long address, and I'm going to go ahead and put in the cab number as our decoder address, 8072. And this at this point, you would select any other appropriate functions you want to program into the decoder. Other than that, it's going to be a straight install for me. I use the default settings, which happens to be the appropriate horn for Conrail and the bell. And then I'm going to go ahead and write the decoder data. And that takes about 30 minutes. All right, everyone, so there you go. Yeah. So this Locomotive, I told you we were starting a TikTok channel. I started. As of February 4th, I'm over 800 followers on TikTok. It exploded beyond my wildest dreams. Never expected it to take off. And you know what the great part about it is? There's a lot of young people out there doing model railroad TikTok videos. And you know what? For those of you dinosaurs in the NMRA who says it's dying, these kids ain't doing model railroading anymore, yeah, go on TikTok. There's a lot of people following. So there's my little spiel. Get off my soapbox now. This Locomotive here came out so good. One of my videos on TikTok I did, if you go find me over there and check it out, is I did this parody on the Bippity Boppity Boo channel challenge, and this one, the video's up to like 2,000 views already. So yeah, it's already a rock star on TikTok. So I was so happy with the way this Locomotive came out because I think it's because of one reason. It was the airbrush. Yeah, so for Christmas I got my new Iwata. It's an HPC. I wanted the series up from that, but I couldn't find it in stock. So, you know, I figured I'll just go with this. The only difference between the HPC and the next one up is that there's a little flow control nozzle on the tip, or button on the tip. So I figured, you know what, it's enough for me to be learning a new airbrush. I don't need any extra gadgets on there interfering. So I just went with that, and besides, the higher version wasn't in stock anywhere. So, whoa, wow. You know what? I loved my Badger 155. I know this is a very hotly contested debate, and we could go on for hours, and I'm sure the comments are going to come back. But man, the control and the flow that I got out of that Iwata allowed me to do so much more when it came to weathering. Like, I really pushed the envelope. I was like, you know what? I know what my abilities are. Let me try it with this brush. And this brush really opened up and allowed me to do a lot of weathering, and a lot of really good looking weathering. Like, there's no splatter. You know, previously with the Badger 155, when you turned it down, you would get some splatter, so you would see that it was kind of speckly. The weathering on this is like flawless. It's just perfect. It's like, looks like it should look. And I was just like, oh wow. So consequently, that Locomotive, with the exception of the soot on the top of the roof, was all done with airbrush. And I've never done that before. It just really has opened up a whole new window for me for the future. So I'm really looking forward to future projects and how they're going to come out. And you know, it's kind of like, I don't know what to expect when it's really an artwork. It really is. Hats off to the guys who are doing weathering, like Touch of Brush Weathering, how he does it for business, because it's very artistic. You know, you want to try to represent the prototype. So when I do it, I go off photos and I try to emulate that. But you also, I don't know how they do that, because how's one customer want one thing and another customer wants another? I mean, hats off to you guys who are doing that professionally, because it's just, it is an artwork. So yeah, having the new airbrush, it's opened up my eyes to all of this. As for the sound decoder, this is the ESU 73100. I got one more to go, and that's going to be for a GP40-2 that I got. It's an Atlas. It's kind of a goofy one too. It doesn't have any number boards. It has number boards, but they're blank, and the number is really off. I did my research when I was looking at it, getting ready to do work on it. 5278. I think that was looking at it, I don't think that was done by Atlas. I think this was probably an unnumbered, and I don't think anybody did their homework, because 5278 in the Conrail series is for Alco RS3s. And even NS had 5278, but I think it was for GP38s. So not too sure what that is. So that's definitely got to go. I mean, that's driving me nuts looking at it. But so that's going to be the next one we're going to do, and that's going to get the last 73100. And I'm very happy to announce that, well, they've already announced it. It's not like I'm doing anything crazy, but I'm very happy to find out that ESU is coming out with a new board. It's due to release soon for the legacy Atlas units. So I'm going to wait a little bit to see how this plays out, because I don't want to I'm not going to pre-order right now. I don't like getting into pre-orders. I've gotten burnt in the past. So I'll just wait when they start coming out, and then we'll do it. So I'm going to put this sound thing on hold. However, I have 2 more GP38s I got to do. I'm now with taking the DC boards out of these 2. Those don't have DC boards, so I'm going to put them in it. We're going to do the paint up in the Locomotive shop here, and I'll put them out on the layout. And when I get those boards, I'll just go back and upgrade them. So this way I can get some more Locomotives done and out on the layout. So, and then the ones that haven't been converted yet, they're going to have to wait for probably another year or so, because I think the release date, I want to say was May, but I could be wrong. But yeah, ESU is definitely coming out with a new one, so we're just going to have to put the sound conversions on hold. Now, I have indicated that I was going to try maybe a nano, but, I don't know. Maybe I'll just wait. We'll try one of the new drop-in boards. If it works good, fine. If it doesn't, then we'll do the nano. So that's what you can expect. So yeah, it's beginning of February, doing these videos here. I'm very happy that the channel's running again, and I'm happy to be interacting with everybody. I hope you're all having a good time following along. Layout room is progressing along good. It's really progressing along, so I'm very happy with that. And yeah, so then we'll do the GP40-2 next time, and then we'll go back to 2 more GP38s. I think I'm going to do something a little special, maybe. We'll see, and I'll let you know. All right, so if you like what you're seeing this video for the first time, you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so, because we'd love to have you follow along. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. I'll post a link up to the TikTok channel in this comment section, and follow along over there, because I'm always posting daily updates of what we're doing, and having a lot of fun on TikTok doing the videos with the music, so go check them out. And otherwise, that's all I have for this time on Central Jersey Conrail and Scale, and I'll see you next time. Bye.